Hello, friend. So glad you're here tonight. Get comfortable, pull the covers up, and let the day loosen its grip. There's nowhere else you need to be. Before we begin, a small request. Most of the people listening tonight aren't subscribed. If this channel has ever helped you drift off, take a moment to subscribe and tap the like button on tonight's video. Both are free, they take 2 seconds, and they help this channel more than you think. And you can always change your mind later. And if you feel like it, leave a comment telling me where in the world you're listening from and what time it is where you are. I love reading them. Tonight is a slow drift through the real story of Aristotle, one true thing at a time. There is nothing to do here and nothing to remember. Each one will pass like a slow cloud, some familiar, some quietly surprising, all of them real. If you fall asleep somewhere in the middle, that is exactly how this is meant to work. Settle in, let your breathing slow down, and we will begin. One more thing before we begin. I'm also a co-founder of a sleep app built to be the most affordable one out there. No ads, ever. Just sounds and stories made to help you sleep. It may not be released yet as this video goes up, but if you're watching a little later, it might be out by now. It's called Dozily, and the link is in the description. It works on iPhone, Android, and everything in between. Downloading it is the best way to support this channel. You know, Aristotle was born in a small town called Stagira, up north in Greece. It's not a big place, just a little coastal village. He grew up there and then he died not too far away in Chalkis. That's interesting because it means his whole life was spent within a relatively short distance from where he started. It's like he never really ventured far from home, even though he'd go on to have such an impact on the world. So maybe there's something to be said for sticking close to your roots. You know, Aristotle was born in a small town called Stagira up north in Greece. It's not a big place, just a little coastal village. He grew up there and then he died not too far away in Chalkis. That's interesting because it means his whole life was spent within a relatively short distance from where he started. It's like he never really ventured far from home, even though he'd go on to have such an impact on the world. His ideas travelled further than he did, shaping philosophy and science in distant lands. Aristotle Onassis was born in a suburb called Karatown, just outside the Ottoman port city of Smyrna. Today, that place is known as Izmir, Turkey. It's in an area called Anatolia. He saw the light of day for the first time on January 20, 1906. That was a long time ago, back when the world was different. His parents were Greek, and they gave him a name that sounds like it came from a storybook, Aristotle Socrates Onassis. They named him after 2 famous men from ancient Greece. The place where he was born is now in Turkey, but at that time it was part of the Ottoman Empire. That's an empire that no longer exists. It was a big deal back then though. The Ottomans ruled over a lot of territory and had a powerful navy. Smyrna, or Izmir as we call it now, was one of their important ports. It sat on the Aegean Sea with mountains nearby. That's where this young boy first opened his eyes to the world. He was born into a place full of history and change. That is a story that could fill many pages. Aristotle was born in Smyrna, which today we know as Izmir in Turkey. It was a city he would have known well, with its ancient streets and markets. But his life took a dramatic turn in 1922. The city of Smyrna was engulfed in flames, the result of a devastating fire that consumed much of what stood there. Aristotle and his family were forced to flee their home, leaving behind all they knew to find safety in Greece. That journey must have been filled with uncertainty and fear as they crossed distances and navigated paths they had never before encountered. It's a stark reminder of the reality that even the great philosophers of history were not immune to the upheavals of their time. Sometimes, the only choice is to leave everything behind and start anew. The family's journey was fraught with danger as they traversed rough seas in overcrowded boats. The fire had not only destroyed their homes but also decimated the city's infrastructure, leaving little behind. This sudden displacement underscored how even a great mind like Aristotle's could be helpless against historical forces. Aristotle and Socrates lived in overlapping times, which sounds like they might have known each other. But Aristotle wasn't born until about a quarter of a century after Socrates died. So, it's not that he knew him personally, it's more like how you might remember your grandparents talking about World War II, even though it ended before you were born. That's what Aristotle was to Socrates, a kind of distant echo. The lifespan of Aristotle, which lasted until 1975, that's a long time for any name to endure, especially one as significant as his. Yet, Aristotle's teachings were so profound that they shaped the thoughts of future philosophers for centuries. His works influenced thinkers across generations, echoing through time like a resonant melody. This intellectual legacy ensured that Socrates' ideas lived on, even if only by proxy. Aristotle's works were widely used in medieval universities, often serving as the foundation for scholarly debates. This ensured that Socrates' ideas not only endured, but also evolved with each new interpretation. Aristotle's teachings provided a framework that encouraged intellectual exploration and critical thinking, making them timeless resources for philosophical inquiry. Aristotle hails from a place called Stagira in northern Greece. This city lies on the peninsula of Chalcidice, a land of hills and coasts that juts out into the Aegean Sea. Stagira is a real place, not just a name on a map. It's where Aristotle would have walked as a child, seen the sun rise over the sea, felt the wind coming off the water. That is what makes it more than just an address. It's part of who he was, where his mind and ideas first took shape. It's not just a fact, but a piece of his life that we can still see and feel today if we visit there. And that's worth remembering. Stagira was known for its temple dedicated to Zeus, where Aristotle likely spent time contemplating the heavens. The city's rich history and cultural heritage would have greatly influenced his intellectual pursuits. Growing up amid such a vibrant backdrop instilled in him an appreciation for both natural beauty and philosophical inquiry. The city's bustling marketplace, filled with the aroma of fresh fish and spices, would have sparked his curiosity about trade and economics. Its lush olive groves offered a glimpse into the practical side of agriculture, shaping his thoughts on ethics and justice. The diverse population allowed him to encounter different cultures, laying the foundation for his ideas on politics and society. Did you know that Aristotle spent some of his early years in a palace? His father was the doctor to the king of Macedonia. This isn't just any palace, it's where kings and queens live. Can you picture the grand halls with tall pillars and marble floors? The palace would have been bustling with servants, soldiers, and courtiers all day long. It was a lively place for a young boy to grow up in. That's quite an environment to shape someone's early life. This palace also housed a vast library, allowing Aristotle to immerse himself in knowledge from an early age. Growing up amidst such opulence and learning likely instilled in him a lifelong appreciation for both beauty and wisdom. The palace's library contained scrolls from various scholars, offering Aristotle diverse perspectives. This intellectual exposure likely shaped his own philosophical explorations. The vibrant palace life also introduced him to the art of rhetoric as he observed debates and negotiations between dignitaries. In this setting, Aristotle also developed a keen eye for detail and a critical mind. He learned to question what he was taught and seek his own truths. This environment fostered in him a deep sense of curiosity and a thirst for knowledge that never waned. So, Aristotle's father was a doctor. Not just any doctor, but the personal physician to King Amyntas of Macedonia. That means Nicomachus would have been right there in the palace, caring for the king and his family. Can you picture it? The grand halls, the bustling servants, the scent of herbs and ointments always on him. He'd be called upon day or night, rain or shine, to tend to any ailment. That's dedication, isn't it? A long time serving one person, that's for sure. He'd know the palace better than his own home, every corner and corridor. His hands, stained with remedies, would carry secrets of royal health. The king's life depended on him, making every diagnosis crucial. Yet, Nicomachus was more than just a doctor. He was a trusted advisor, shaping medical practices within the royal court. His reputation as an expert in ancient Greek medicine spread far and wide, influencing medical knowledge across lands. His skills weren't just valued in times of sickness, but also in maintaining the royal family's health through preventive care. He'd be consulted on everything from diet to exercise, ensuring their well-being was always a top priority. This role meant he held significant power within the court, with his advice sometimes influencing political decisions as much as medical ones. In the centuries after Aristotle, a different way of thinking about logic took over. Stoic logic became more popular than Aristotelian logic. It's like when a new song takes over the airwaves, and you can't go anywhere without hearing it. The Arab world was familiar with Aristotle's true work, not some watered-down version. Then, much later, St. Thomas Aquinas tried to fit Aristotle into Christian beliefs. That shows how important Aristotle's ideas were, even if they weren't the most popular at one point. This shift in logic is interesting because it shows that even great thinkers can be overshadowed by others for a time. It's a reminder that history isn't always linear, and sometimes things go back and forth. That is how philosophy changes over time. This Stoic logic introduced key concepts like impressions and a sense, shaping our understanding of human cognition. It challenged Aristotle's focus on syllogisms, opening the door to new philosophical inquiries. The rise of Stoicism marked a significant shift from abstract theory to practical reasoning. The Stoics believed that logic should guide us in daily life, not just in theoretical debates. They taught that our thoughts and perceptions could be trusted, shaping how we approach decisions today. This shift also meant philosophers started focusing on the mind's inner workings, influencing psychology's early development. You know how sometimes a single idea can spread far and wide? Well, Aristotle came up with a way of thinking about things logically. That's now known as Aristotelian logic. It was like he built a set of rules for how to reason, and over time, those rules became really important in the world of philosophy. They spread from one person to another until eventually they dominated everything. People loved using his system so much, it became the standard way to think about things logically. That's a lot of influence for just one idea. It structured everything from religious doctrines to scientific experiments. It laid the groundwork for Western philosophy and logic. The principles are so fundamental, they still form the basis of modern-day reasoning. This logical system helped scholars organize knowledge into categories and make sense of the world around them. It provided a common language for philosophers to communicate complex ideas effectively. Its structure became the backbone of academic discourse, shaping the way we understand and interpret information today. It provided a framework for debates and arguments, enabling thinkers to challenge each other with precision. It offered a way to navigate complex problems by breaking them down into simpler parts. You know how ideas sometimes travel from one place to another? Aristotle's logic did that, but in a big way. It journeyed all the way from ancient Greece to the Middle East and then to Europe, passing through both Arabic and Latin traditions along the way. This wasn't just a quick message or a short note. These were complex ideas about how to think logically, and they took root in different cultures, shaping their understanding of reason for centuries. That's quite something, isn't it? It shows how powerful clear thinking can be when it finds the right paths to follow. That is a journey worth tracing. Aristotle's logic was often used to structure philosophical debates and scientific inquiries, providing a common framework for diverse cultures. It influenced the development of Islamic philosophy, known as falasifa, which in turn shaped Western thought during the Renaissance. This intellectual migration illustrates how universal themes can bridge cultural divides, fostering mutual growth and understanding. Aristotle's logic was translated into Arabic by prominent scholars like Al-Farabi, who saw its value in structuring their own philosophical discourse. The works of Aristotle were studied and interpreted by Muslim philosophers such as Avicenna and Averroes, adding new dimensions to his original ideas. These interpretations then found their way into medieval Europe through translators like Gerard of Cremona, influencing the scholastic movement and shaping the foundational principles of Western philosophy. Aristotle left behind quite a collection of works, didn't he? There are Nicomachean Ethics, which delve into what it means to live well. Then there's Politics, where he explores different forms of government. Metaphysics deals with the big questions: what is reality? What exists? And then we have Poetics, his thoughts on drama and storytelling. That's just a glimpse into his writings, really. He covered so much ground, from the physical world in physics to logical reasoning in prior analytics. You could spend a lifetime exploring his ideas, couldn't you? That's quite something. His works laid the foundation for Western philosophy, influencing thinkers from Aquinas to Nietzsche. His ideas on ethics and politics continue to shape modern thought and governance. He pioneered the concept of logic as a systematic discipline, a legacy that underpins much of contemporary reasoning. His works also include Parts of Animals, showcasing his groundbreaking biological observations. He believed in a world governed by natural laws, challenging earlier views of divine intervention. His emphasis on empiricism laid the groundwork for scientific inquiry. You know, Aristotle's ideas shaped almost every branch of Western philosophy and science. His thoughts became the foundation for how people in the West understood the world around them. Scholars used his framework to explore questions about nature, ethics, politics, even the divine. His work was like a map that guided generations of thinkers. That's an incredible legacy, isn't it? It means Aristotle's insights have been echoing through centuries, influencing how we see ourselves and our world. Aristotle's writings were so influential that they became known as the organon, meaning instrument. His ideas on logic and metaphysics laid a solid foundation for philosophical inquiry. Even today, his concepts are still debated and refined by scholars worldwide. His works, like Metaphysics and Nicomachean Ethics, remain essential reads in universities worldwide. Aristotle's emphasis on observation and empiricism paved the way for scientific advancements, revolutionizing our approach to understanding reality. His philosophy also laid the groundwork for modern logic, shaping how we reason and communicate complex ideas. Aristotle's empirical approach emphasized direct experience over pure speculation, making him a pioneer in scientific methodology. His concepts like potentiality and actualities have profoundly shaped our understanding of change and motion. These ideas laid the groundwork for physics and biology as we know them today. On Project Gutenberg, there are over 79,000 free ebooks available to read. Among these digital treasures, you can find works by Aristotle. That's an incredible wealth of literature at your fingertips, all within a few clicks. Picture the vastness of it, more books than most people could read in a lifetime. What does this mean? It means that thousands of years after he wrote his philosophical treatises, his words are still accessible to anyone with an internet connection. That is a remarkable preservation of knowledge. Among these classics, you can delve into metaphysics or politics, gaining insights that have shaped Western philosophy. These ebooks ensure his ideas remain relevant, inspiring today's thinkers and scholars. This digital library democratizes access to knowledge, making it available regardless of location or economic status. These digitized texts allow us to experience his thought process, line by line. The original manuscripts may be fragile and fading, but here they are fresh and vivid. This digital library is more than just a repository, it's an active conversation across centuries. Aristotle wrote a staggering amount of text in his lifetime. We're talking about over 300,000 lines. That's more than enough to fill a small library, and it covered everything from science to politics. Now, out of that vast collection, only around 40,000 lines have survived the test of time. Think about all the scrolls and pages that must have been lost or destroyed over the centuries. It's like trying to piece together a giant puzzle with most of the pieces missing. That is a tremendous loss for those who study ancient philosophy. These lost texts might have shed light on Aristotle's ideas that were later misinterpreted or overlooked. Scholars today use fragments and references to reconstruct his original thoughts, like trying to solve a puzzle with only a fraction of the pieces. His surviving works often seem incomplete, lacking the context provided by the missing lines. Aristotle's writing was often dense and complex, making it difficult for later scholars to decipher his true meaning. Many of his surviving texts are known to be compilations of student notes rather than the philosopher's own manuscripts. His lost works could have provided clarity on his methodology, giving us a better understanding of how he arrived at his conclusions. You know how we sometimes name something after a person who's important to us? Like a street or a park? Well, Aristotle did that with his most famous work on ethics. he named it after his son Nicomachus. This book isn't just about how to be good, it's also where Aristotle lays out his main ideas on economics, both here and in another book called Politics. Now, you might think that's a bit odd, putting economic ideas in a book about ethics, but remember, everything was connected for these ancient philosophers. And there's something else interesting too. Aristotle talks about women having reason, but he says they lack authority. He uses this idea to justify why men should rule over women both at home and in the city-state. So, that's a lot packed into one book, isn't it? That's more than just ethics. Aristotle's book, titled Nicomachean Ethics, is known for its deep exploration of virtue and human flourishing. It introduces concepts like the golden mean and eudaimonia, emphasizing balance and personal fulfillment. This integration of economics within ethics reflects Aristotle's holistic view of society, seeing all aspects as interconnected. You know how we use the word politics today? Well, it comes from Aristotle. He wrote a book called Politics, and that title literally means the things concerning the city-states. Back then, the city-state, or polis, was the main unit of society, like a small country. So when you hear the word politics, remember it started with someone thinking about how people live together in those city-states. That's where our modern word comes from. Aristotle's Politics explored how people organized themselves, from simple households to complex city-states. It discussed different forms of government, their strengths and weaknesses. This work was groundbreaking because it encouraged critical thinking about society and governance, ideas that continue to influence us today. Aristotle even compared city-states to organisms, seeing each part's role as essential. He believed the ideal government balanced different classes, avoiding extremes like tyranny or anarchy. His work set a foundation for Western political thought, still debated and built upon today. Aristotle saw the city-state as a microcosm, a self-contained world. This idea let him explore governance without needing to consider distant lands or vast empires. He believed each part of society contributed to its whole, like parts of an organism, so everyone had a role in maintaining balance. This organic view of the state emphasized interdependence and cooperation among citizens, setting the stage for modern political theory. When Aristotle studied living things, he thought about what makes a plant or animal unique. He called that uniqueness form. Now, Plato had a similar idea, but it was different in some key ways. For one thing, Plato believed that forms exist on their own, separate from physical objects. Aristotle, though, said no, forms are part of the object itself. So when you look at an oak tree, sure, it's got its leaves and branches, but what makes it an oak tree is something built right into it. That's how Aristotle saw biology, as something rooted in the actual things around us. It was a practical approach, focusing on what you can see and touch. And that's the core difference between Aristotle's biology and Plato's theory of forms. Aristotle's view also meant that species could change over time, adapting to their environments. This made his biology more flexible and open to the complexities of life. Additionally, Aristotle's emphasis on observing and classifying living things laid the groundwork for modern taxonomy. For Aristotle, the form was inseparable from substance, the actual, physical matter of a living thing. This meant that each species had its own unique essence, but it wasn't abstract or eternal. It changed with the species itself. His emphasis on forms being within objects led to detailed studies of anatomy and behavior, deepening our understanding of life's diversity and intricacy. It also encouraged a focus on the natural world, fostering empirical science and promoting the idea that observation and experience are vital for comprehending nature. There were other writers named Aristotle besides our famous philosopher. Diogenes Laertius mentions several in his work on writers with that name. These others are largely unknown to us, but their existence shows that the name wasn't unique to just one person. That is a reminder of how common names can be, even for someone as renowned as Aristotle. The name Aristotle was so common in ancient Greece that it's been estimated there were over 100 people with that name living at the same time. This abundance of shared names highlights the cultural norms of the era, where family lineages and local traditions often dictated naming practices. It also underscores how little we know about many individuals from history, as most common folk left behind no written records or artifacts to preserve their legacy. In ancient Greece, people didn't just have one name, they often had multiple. This could include a personal name, a patronymic, and sometimes even a place name to distinguish individuals in smaller communities. The repetition of names like Aristotle was further compounded by the lack of unique naming conventions in larger cities. It meant that many people shared similar identities with little distinction beyond their family connections or local reputations. This practice wasn't merely about simplicity, it reflected a collective identity where the individual's role within society was more emphasized than personal uniqueness. You know how the Stoics loved their routines? They'd talk about feeding a habit bonfire, and they agreed with Aristotle, we are what we repeatedly do. Ever think of habits as something you build up over time? Like a fire. You start small, just a few twigs. Then, day after day, you add more wood. Before long, that little spark turns into a roaring blaze. It's the same with habits. Do something enough times, and it becomes a part of who you are. That's what the Stoics were getting at. They saw routine as the fuel for our lives. And they were right, we really do become what we repeatedly do. Just think about it. If you keep practicing a skill or studying a subject, over time it shapes you. It becomes part of who you are. That's powerful stuff. So, next time you're trying to make something stick, remember the habit bonfire. Like a craftsman patiently shaping wood, repetition carves our character. Each day's small act shapes us imperceptibly yet profoundly. It's the subtlety of the process that makes it so remarkable. Tiny changes compounding over time to transform who we are. Aristotle's work was like a seed that grew into a vast tree. It spread across the ancient world, influencing how people understood science and philosophy in both Greece and Rome. His ideas were passed down, discussed, and built upon by scholars over generations. They shaped the way people thought about everything from the natural world to ethics and politics. That is an enduring legacy, shaping minds and debates for centuries. His works were translated into Latin, spreading his ideas further and making them accessible to a wider audience. They formed the backbone of medieval education, with scholars debating and expanding upon his theories. This intellectual lineage continued through the Renaissance, inspiring thinkers like Da Vinci and Galileo. His works were copied by hand in monasteries, ensuring their survival through dark ages. They bridged the gap between ancient wisdom and the modern world, offering timeless insights into human nature. His logical approach to philosophy became a cornerstone of Western thought. His writings were preserved in Alexandria's Great Library, a center of learning that drew scholars from around the Mediterranean. This collection became a vital resource for future generations, ensuring his ideas could flourish and evolve over time. Aristotle's work on logic was so influential that it set the standard for philosophy for more than 1,000 years. From the Middle Ages until the 19th century, his ideas were the foundation of philosophical thought across Europe and the Islamic world. This isn't just about abstract theories. Aristotelian logic became the practical framework that scholars used to understand and discuss the world around them. It was like having a reliable roadmap, guiding thinkers through complex concepts with clarity and consistency. That is an astonishingly long time for one person's ideas to remain at the heart of intellectual exploration. His Organon and Prior Analytics were crucial texts, teaching methods for argument and proof. This logical structure shaped everything from medieval debates to scientific methodologies. It enabled scholars to build upon each other's work with confidence, creating a cohesive intellectual tradition that endured centuries. The influence of Aristotle's logic was so profound that many medieval universities based their curriculum around his works. It wasn't merely a static set of rules, but a dynamic framework that encouraged rigorous inquiry and debate. This logical system also facilitated the translation and preservation of ancient texts, ensuring that classical knowledge was accessible for future generations. Aristotle's ideas about doing good have shaped Western thinking in a big way. For centuries, people have looked to his virtue ethics for guidance. This isn't just an idea floating around in the air, it has real weight. It's like trying to carry a heavy stone that you can't put down, and no one has wanted to. Even when some of Aristotle's other works, like Poetics, got lost for a long time, this ethical theory stayed strong. It was found again during the Middle Ages through an Arabic translation, showing how far-reaching its influence is. That's something lasting and profound, a thought that has been carried over great distances of time and culture. Aristotle taught that goodness comes from cultivating virtues, not just following rules. He believed in balance, that excess or deficiency in any trait leads to harm. His ideas weren't rigid prescriptions, but a call for thoughtful living, shaping moral philosophy and influencing thinkers across continents. Aristotle's ideas about virtues and vices resonated deeply with philosophers, as they offered a practical guide to moral decision-making. This ethical framework encouraged individuals to strive for excellence in their character and actions. His teachings were so influential that even today, many educators and leaders turn to Aristotle's insights for inspiration. Aristotle is often called the philosopher, or the man who knew everything. That's because he covered so many topics that people started using his name as a shortcut for philosophy itself. He writes about logic, ethics, politics, physics, even the theatre and performing arts. It was like he had this insatiable curiosity to understand everything around him. Picture a vast library of knowledge in your mind, with Aristotle standing at the centre, reaching out to every shelf. His work is still studied today because it set the groundwork for many fields we know now. That's how deep his impact went. He truly was the man who knew everything. He introduced concepts like logos, the principle of reason and order, that are still debated today. His work was so influential, it became the foundation for centuries of learning, from medieval universities to modern academia. His treatises on biology, such as History of Animals, were pioneering studies that laid the foundation for modern zoology. He also introduced the concept of potentiality and actualities in his work, Metaphysics, which profoundly influenced future philosophers like Thomas Aquinas. Have you ever thought about why things happen? Like, why a rock falls when you drop it? Aristotle did. He's the one who came up with cause and effect. It's a simple idea, but think about it. Without that, we wouldn't understand much of anything. Everything from physics to philosophy comes back to that basic concept. That's why people say he's the father of cause and effect. It's fundamental to how we see the world. That's a profound insight. Aristotle's ideas shaped how we explore and explain natural phenomena. It laid the groundwork for scientific reasoning, helping us predict and understand the world around us. His notion of cause and effect is still central to our quest for knowledge today. Aristotle believed that every event has a specific cause. He thought nothing happens by chance, but rather due to an inherent nature or purpose. This idea encouraged systematic observation and experimentation, leading to the birth of empirical science. He even applied it to living things, like plants and animals. For him, everything had a specific purpose. This made people question why things are as they are, not just how they work. You know, Aristotle really laid out a blueprint for storytelling with his work, the Poetics. He put down rules that still guide us today when we watch a movie or see a play on stage. It's like he gave us a roadmap for what makes a great drama, how to structure the plot, develop characters, and use language effectively. That's because storytelling is about more than just making stuff up. It's about crafting something that resonates with people, and Aristotle knew exactly how to do that. It's amazing how his insights from so long ago can still be so relevant today. He introduced concepts like hamartia, the fatal flaw in a hero, and anagnorisis, the moment of recognition that drives the plot forward. These ideas help us understand what makes characters relatable and plots engaging. His focus on catharsis, the emotional purging through tragedy, shows how storytelling can be a powerful tool for processing complex emotions. His emphasis on peripetia, or the reversal of fortune, taught us how twists and turns can keep audiences engaged. The importance he placed on mythoses, the arrangement of events, showed that the sequence of a story matters as much as its content. Aristotle was forced to flee to the city of Chalcis in 323 BC, charged with impiety. Impiety was a serious offense, indicating that he was accused of not respecting the gods or the religious customs of Athens. This wasn't just a minor disagreement, it meant that his life was in danger. He must have felt the weight of this accusation on his shoulders as he travelled, perhaps looking over his shoulder with each step, hoping to find safety and refuge. Chalcis was a good distance away from Athens, giving him some room to breathe and plan. What does it say about the times that such an esteemed philosopher had to run for his life due to religious accusations? That is a stark reminder of the power religion held in ancient societies. His philosophies were often seen as a threat to the religious institutions, challenging their beliefs and undermining their authority. The charge of impiety carried severe consequences, including potential execution or exile from society. This dramatic turn of events underscores the tension between intellectual inquiry and religious orthodoxy in ancient times. Aristotle got married around 346 BC to Pythias, who was either the niece or adopted daughter of Hermias. That's a pretty significant event in its own right. Think about it, Aristotle, one of history's most influential philosophers, tying the knot with someone from a powerful family. It's like they were cementing an alliance, binding their fates together. This wasn't just a romantic affair, it was a strategic move that had real implications for both families involved. That's not just two people getting married, it's the joining of two important lines of thought and influence in ancient Greece. Their union led to the birth of a daughter, which further solidified their family's political and intellectual alliances. It also provided Aristotle with an heir, ensuring his philosophical legacy would continue through future generations. This marriage not only shaped ancient Greece's cultural landscape, but also laid the groundwork for future philosophical discourses. This marriage allowed Aristotle to leave Athens and live in Macedon, where he tutored Alexander the Great. It also gave him access to Hermias' library, greatly expanding his own knowledge. This union profoundly influenced Aristotle's later works and philosophies, reflecting a deeper understanding of politics and ethics gained from his experiences with Pythias and her family. Aristotle's ideas have been influencing philosophers for over 2,000 years. From the time of ancient Rome right up until today, people study his works closely. It's not just historians who are interested, these aren't old papers gathering dust. People genuinely want to understand what Aristotle was saying about ethics, logic, and politics. His writings have guided thinkers through centuries, shaping how they view the world. That's a lot of time for one person's thoughts to stay relevant. Aristotle's ideas have been influencing philosophers for over 2,000 years. From the time of ancient Rome right up until today, people study his works closely. It's not just historians who are interested, these aren't old papers gathering dust. People genuinely want to understand what Aristotle was saying about ethics, logic, and politics. His writings have guided thinkers through centuries, shaping how they view the world. That's a lot of time for one person's thoughts to stay relevant. Aristotle's concept of happiness as the ultimate goal of human life has been pivotal in ethical discussions. The idea of the golden mean, striking a balance between extremes, resonates deeply with modern thought. His insights into the nature of causality and change continue to inform scientific inquiry. Aristotle was born in a small town called Stagira or Stagiros. It's in Greece, nestled on the coast where the sea meets the land. Picture a little village, surrounded by hills and the vast blue of the Aegean Sea. There were farms nearby, fields of wheat and olives. The air was salty and fresh. Stagira was small, but it had a harbour, so people could come and go by boat. Aristotle grew up seeing the world from this little corner, the sea always in view. It shaped his early life, his thoughts, and eventually his philosophy. That's where he began. The sound of waves lapping against the shore was a constant companion to Aristotle's thoughts. He often watched the fishermen return with their catch, observing patterns in nature that would later influence his theories on change and causality. The village elders noticed young Aristotle's curiosity, encouraging him to explore the world beyond Stagira's borders. The rhythm of village life was dictated by the tides, shaping Aristotle's sense of time and cycle. He marveled at how the sea reflected the sky, mirroring its moods and colors. The coastal breeze carried stories from distant lands, fueling his desire to learn more about the world beyond Stagira. Aristotle didn't die in Athens or anywhere else famous. He ended his days in Chalcis, on the island of Euboea. It's not far from Athens, but it feels worlds away. A quieter place, a smaller town. You can picture him there, walking by the sea, the waves lapping against the shore. Chalcis is known for its hot springs. Maybe he sought some comfort in them. The air is different there, saltier. It's not just a name on a map, it's a place with character. You can almost smell the pine trees from the nearby mountains. That's where Aristotle chose to spend his final days, away from the bustle of Athens. There must have been something about Chalcis that drew him in. Chalcis offered Aristotle a serene retreat, far from the political turmoil of Athens. Its tranquility allowed him to focus on his philosophical inquiries, perhaps even drafting some of his final works. The simplicity of life there may have provided him with a sense of inner peace as he approached the end of his days. Aristotle spent time on an island called Lesbos, and while he was there, he paid close attention to the animals that lived around him. He didn't just watch them from a distance, he got up close, sometimes even cutting into their bodies to see what made them tick. That's how careful and curious he was about understanding life. That's a pretty bold thing to do in ancient times, isn't it? It shows how much he wanted to know the truth behind things. He was willing to get his hands dirty to figure out how living creatures work. Aristotle's meticulous observations led him to describe over 500 animal species, a remarkable achievement for his time. His hands-on approach revealed internal structures and functionalities that had previously been a mystery. This direct method of inquiry laid the foundation for modern biological study, demonstrating the power of close observation and experimentation. He even dissected a calf to study its four-chambered heart, showing how structures relate to functions. This hands-on approach revealed insights about organs and their roles in the body, shaping our understanding of physiology. His observations were compiled into detailed accounts, providing a rich resource for future scientists. Aristotle's logic held sway for an incredibly long time, over 2,000 years. It's as if the way we think about thinking didn't change from when Plato was teaching until after the Second World War. The syllogism is a key part of this. It's like a little argument that fits in your head. All men are mortal. Socrates is a man. Therefore, Socrates is mortal. It's a simple pattern, but it works. That's a long time for one way of thinking to dominate. It shows how powerful and enduring Aristotle's ideas were. Aristotle's logic was so pervasive that it shaped not just philosophy, but also theology and science. It provided a common language for thinking and debating complex ideas. His logical framework was deeply embedded in educational systems, ensuring its endurance through generations of scholars. Scholars across Europe and beyond relied on Aristotle's logic for structuring their arguments. It guided the way they understood reality, influencing how they interpreted texts and observations. This logical framework became a bedrock for academic discourse, shaping the very fabric of intellectual thought. Aristotle's logic was so influential that anyone who came after him and said something new was seen as confused or wrong. This meant that for a long time, people thought there wasn't much more to say about logic. It was all covered by Aristotle. That's a sign of how foundational his work was in the field. That is quite an achievement for one person. Aristotle's work was so comprehensive that it formed the basis for most logical studies for centuries. His ideas were so deeply ingrained that they became standard for philosophical discourse. This dominance stifled innovative thought in logic, as any new approach often faced skepticism and resistance. Aristotle's logic was so influential that anyone who came after him and said something new was seen as confused or wrong. This meant that for a long time, people thought there wasn't much more to say about logic. It was all covered by Aristotle. That's a sign of how foundational his work was in the field. His logical system dominated medieval philosophy, shaping scholastic debates and becoming a central part of educational curricula across Europe. This dominance stifled innovative thought in logic, as any new approach often faced skepticism and resistance. The Hippocratic medical corpus was a collection of texts written around the time Aristotle lived. It was seriously interested in how the human body worked, inside and out. They looked at bones, muscles, organs, all that stuff. They studied diseases too, what causes them, how they spread. That's pretty impressive for their time. It shows they were really curious about health and sickness, trying to understand it better. They even dissected bodies, which was highly unusual at the time. They noted how different foods affected health. Their work laid the foundation for modern medicine. They documented over 60 diseases, noting symptoms and potential cures. Their observations were meticulously recorded in detailed notes. They also believed that health was maintained by balance, leading to their theory of the four humours. They preserved their findings in wax tablets, a cutting-edge technology of the era. This allowed for detailed record-keeping, ensuring knowledge wasn't lost over time. They also emphasized patient confidentiality, marking a shift towards ethical practice in medicine. Their observations included detailed drawings, now known as the Hippocratic sketches, depicting anatomical features with remarkable accuracy. These illustrations provided tangible evidence of their profound understanding and meticulous study of human physiology. They also experimented with herbal remedies, documenting both the healing properties and potential dangers of various plants. You know how sometimes we take our bodies for granted? Well, Plato didn't. In his dialogue, Timaeus's, he devoted a significant portion of the text to exploring the human body and its functions, and malfunctions too. It's like he wanted to understand what makes us tick inside and out. Why do we get sick? How does food turn into energy? What happens when we sleep? These are all questions Plato delved into. He didn't just talk about abstract ideas, he got down to the nitty-gritty of human physiology. It's fascinating how much he cared about understanding our bodies, isn't it? That's a deep dive into human biology for its time. What do you make of that? Plato even discussed the role of organs like the heart and lungs in blood circulation, demonstrating an early understanding of how our bodies work. He believed that sleep allowed the body to repair itself and restore balance, a concept remarkably ahead of its time. It was his way of bridging philosophy with medicine, highlighting the interconnectedness of mind and body. You know how we think about knowledge today? In neat little boxes? Well, Andronicus had a different idea. He laid out Aristotle's works like a journey. First stop, logic, laying the groundwork, figuring out how to think straight. Next, natural science, looking at the world around us, understanding its rules. Then comes ethics and politics, navigating our place in it all. The metaphysics. It's right there between those two big groups, a bridge between what is and what could be. That makes it an interesting crossroads, doesn't it? A place where thoughts shift from pure observation to how we should live. And that, really, is the essence of philosophy. Andronicus's organization wasn't just a way to categorize knowledge, it was a reflection of his belief in the interconnectedness of all things. He saw metaphysics as not just a bridge, but a pivotal turning point where we begin to question our own existence and purpose within this grand narrative. It was his way of reminding us that knowledge isn't isolated facts, but a continuous journey that shapes who we are and how we understand the world around us. You know how sometimes people disagree on the facts? Well, Polybius and Aristotle had a bit of an argument over some history. Polybius didn't agree with Aristotle's take on the Epizypherian Locrians and their struggles against Timaeus. I guess it shows that even when you're talking about the past, people can have different views. That's just how it goes sometimes. These debates highlighted the importance of critical thinking in history. The differing views on the Locrian struggles offered varying insights into their culture and resilience. Each perspective contributed to a richer understanding of this historical event. Polybius argued that Timaeus's bias led him to downplay Locrian victories, while Aristotle countered by citing their strategic blunders. The clash revealed how political leanings could shape historical accounts, forcing historians to scrutinize sources more carefully. Some historians now use these disagreements as case studies in their classes. These differing views also underscored how history can be seen from multiple angles, each providing valuable context. The discussion even influenced later scholars to consider the motivations behind historical accounts more deeply. Aristotle left behind a lot of writings. We're talking hundreds here. more than 200 actually. And today, only about half of those are still around. That means over 100 pieces just gone. Lost to time. What happened to them? Well, paper doesn't last forever. It tears, it burns, it fades away. So do ideas. They can get misplaced, forgotten, or even deliberately destroyed. That's the story of Aristotle's lost works. You just have to accept that some things are gone for good. Many were lost in a great library fire. Ideas he proposed might have changed the course of history, if only we could read them today. Yet, even fragments preserved in other scholars' writings hint at the vast scope of his ideas. These missing works might have bridged gaps between science and philosophy, offering a more integrated view of the world. Their loss has left us with an incomplete picture of Aristotle's thought, affecting how we understand ancient knowledge and its evolution. The works might have included more detailed explorations of Aristotle's biological studies, offering insights into his theories on evolution and life forms. They could also have delved deeper into his political philosophy, shedding light on his views about governance and society. Without these texts, our understanding of his holistic approach to knowledge remains fragmented. Aristotle's Peripatetic school was in Athens, Greece. He moved there at the age of 17, staying for many years to study under Plato. After travelling and teaching elsewhere, he returned to Athens around 336 BC. There, he set up his own school, known as the Lyceum, right in the heart of the city. It's interesting to think about how this ancient place of learning was probably a lively hub of philosophical debate, with students and teachers walking along its paths and gathering in its halls. That was a significant move for Aristotle, establishing his own academic centre after years of study and travel. This ancient school was known for its peripatetic teaching style, with instructors walking alongside students as they discussed philosophy. The Lyceum's library became one of the most renowned in the ancient world, housing thousands of scrolls and attracting scholars from far and wide. Its design featured a covered walkway called the Peripatos, where much of this teaching and debate took place. This approach emphasized practicality over abstract thinking, promoting active learning through movement and conversation. The Lyceum's impact on Western thought was profound, as many prominent philosophers and scientists studied or taught there, shaping ideas that still resonate today. There was a philosopher named Aristotle of Cyrene who lived in the 4th century BC. He belonged to the Cyrenaic school of thought, which is known for its teachings about pleasure and pain. The Cyrenaeans believed that pleasure and pain are the only things worth pursuing in life. They thought that everything else was just a means to achieve these two ends. Aristotle of Cyrene dedicated his life to understanding and teaching these principles. That's a specific path in philosophy, isn't it? It really narrows down what matters most. He argued that present pleasure is the only good, and future pleasure is mere anticipation. He taught his followers to live in the moment, as past pain or joy has no relevance now. This philosophy influenced many thinkers who came after him. Aristotle of Cyrene's teachings were so radical that they sparked debate among his contemporaries. His emphasis on immediate pleasure over long-term happiness challenged traditional views of morality and ethics. This focus on the present moment led to a practical application, the pursuit of simple pleasures like food or drink rather than abstract ideas or material wealth. At 17, Aristotle left his home in Stagira and travelled to Athens, where he joined Plato's academy. This wasn't just a school, it was a gathering of some of the most brilliant minds of the time. It was like a modern-day think tank, but with more philosophy and less technology. Aristotle spent 20 years there, learning and growing alongside Plato himself. That's not just a short stint or a brief visit, it's a significant chunk of your life. It's like spending your entire 20s in one place, dedicated to learning and exploring new ideas. And when you think about it, that's really something. That is a substantial commitment to knowledge and growth. This intellectual community fostered open debate and critical thinking, encouraging Aristotle to question existing beliefs and develop his own ideas. This unique environment allowed him to delve into various fields, from logic and ethics to politics and biology. He would later build on this foundation to create some of the most influential philosophical works of all time. This intellectual oasis nurtured Aristotle's hunger for truth, shaping his worldview and guiding his future contributions. Under Plato's tutelage, Aristotle honed his analytical skills, learning to dissect complex ideas with precision. This immersive environment cultivated a deep respect for reason, a value that would echo through his philosophical legacy. Aristotle spent his entire adult life in one place of learning, under the guidance of Plato. For 2 decades, he walked the same halls, sat at the same tables, listened to the same voices, echoing through the academy's stone corridors. He left that place when he was 37 years old, carrying with him all those years of knowledge and experience. That is a lifetime devoted to one pursuit. Aristotle's dedication resulted in a body of work that remains influential today. His observations and writings laid the foundation for Western philosophy, logic, and science. In this singular environment, he cultivated an approach to learning that emphasized critical thinking and empirical evidence. Aristotle's unwavering focus within those walls led him to pen seminal works like Metaphysics and Nicomachean Ethics, shaping the intellectual landscape for generations. His immersive study within this scholarly haven fostered a unique ability to connect diverse fields, from biology to metaphysics, under a unified philosophical framework. Aristotle's prolonged residence in this intellectual sanctuary nurtured a profound curiosity for the natural world, leading him to meticulously observe and classify hundreds of species. His commitment to this environment instilled within him an enduring appreciation for the interconnectedness of all things, driving his belief that knowledge is not merely acquired, but actively cultivated through persistent inquiry. Aristotle studied with Plato for about 20 years. That's a big chunk of your adult life, from when you're around 17 until you're nearly 40. In the ancient world, that was like signing up for college and then sticking around to do grad school too. Think about it. Those are years when you're learning, growing, and figuring out what you think. That's a lot of time spent soaking up ideas from one of history's greatest minds. It's like spending all that time at the same university, walking through the same halls, discussing with the same professors. All in all, it's a significant commitment to learning and understanding the world around you. That is a serious dedication to education. During this time, Aristotle not only learned from Plato, but also taught alongside him. This intellectual immersion allowed Aristotle to deeply understand and critically engage with Plato's teachings. Additionally, it provided him the opportunity to develop his own philosophical ideas, which he later used as the foundation for his influential works. Aristotle's extensive studies with Plato led him to pen his famous Metaphysics, a profound critique and expansion on Plato's ideas. This prolonged period of intellectual exchange also fostered Aristotle's emphasis on empiricism, distinguishing his philosophical approach from Plato's idealism. In a talk that started at 31 minutes and 50 seconds in 2022, Caleb Sinan discussed Aristotle. You can picture him standing on a stage, looking out at an audience. He might have been wearing glasses, or maybe not. The lights were probably dimmed, with a spotlight focused on the lectern. His voice filled the room as he began to speak about one of history's most influential philosophers. That is quite a timestamp to start conversation. Caleb Sinan noted that Aristotle's ideas still shape our understanding of logic and ethics. He emphasized the timeless relevance of these principles, highlighting their enduring impact on modern thought. His insights into categorical logic, for example, laid the groundwork for both medieval scholasticism and modern formal logic. Aristotle's emphasis on the importance of virtue ethics has profoundly influenced contemporary philosophers and ethicists. His work on metaphysics continues to spark debates among philosophers today. Aristotle's concept of teloses, or purpose, has been integral to various fields from biology to computer science. His notion that every object and organism has a specific goal to achieve provides a fundamental framework for understanding growth and development. Aristotle's emphasis on observation and empirical evidence laid the foundation for modern scientific inquiry. You know how some books get passed down through generations? Well, there's a collection of works that have survived from ancient times, and they're all attributed to Aristotle. They call this collection the Aristotelian corpus, which is just a fancy name for the body of work. It's like a library of scrolls, or maybe you could picture it as a thick stack of books. These writings have been copied and recopied over centuries, sometimes by hand, other times with early printing methods. It's a reminder that knowledge can endure even if the physical forms change. That is what makes this collection so significant. These works cover a wide range of subjects, from logic and physics to metaphysics and biology. They were often referenced by later scholars, serving as a cornerstone for many philosophical debates in medieval Europe. This continuity of thought is what makes the Aristotelian corpus so pivotal in human history. These writings often contained insights that would influence European thought for centuries to come. They provided a framework for understanding nature and humanity, shaping how people viewed their place in the world. The corpus served as a beacon of learning, guiding countless scholars towards deeper exploration of philosophical concepts. And that is where we will leave Aristotle for tonight. The facts will still be true tomorrow, and this video will still be here whenever you need it. If you are still awake and you would like to keep drifting through history, there will be another quiet video waiting for you on the screen when this one ends. And if these slow evenings help you rest, you might like to subscribe or leave a soft comment or share the video with someone who could use a gentler night. There is no hurry and nothing you have to do. For now, you can let all of it go. You do not need to hold on to any of the names or the places or the numbers. None of it will be waiting for you in the morning. Let your shoulders drop. Let your jaw unclench. Let your breathing slow down and settle into its own quiet rhythm. Sleep well and good night.